What's up, everybody? Do you remember Spellbound? I almost didn't. I know I made a video a few months ago talking about its god-awful, insulting trailer and how I was hyping up the creative visionary behind this movie and also lumping the actual director's credit with theirs. Pretty awful, right? Yet despite that, this movie just vanished from my mind until one of the musical numbers dropped on YouTube, and then I remembered, oh shit, that's right, this movie's supposed to be a musical, and the music was written by Alan Menken of all people. Why did you choose this over Wish, Alan? You're arguably the best songwriter the studio's ever seen. You would have been perfect for the 100-year special. Oh, whatever, that horse is dead and buried. So in that video, I did say I would watch it and give it a fair review. Despite the creative visionaries' past actions, and weirdos still defending them even though they outright admitted to their actions. Like, seriously, what are you guys doing? I know there's still good, honest people who put their hearts and soul into the movie, and their efforts don't deserve to be lumped together with that person. So, with that being said, I watched Spellbound today, and I acknowledge its existence. It's honestly kind of hard to think of other ways to sum up my feelings for this movie. It exists. It's a movie, and I have no strong feelings positively or negatively about it. It exists. But that's a boring video, so I'll keep going. I'll give it this much. It's certainly more imaginative than Luck ever was. Oh, but was it better than Wish? Guys, that cannot be the standard we set for other animated movies, okay? An animal that got hit by a car and is dying on the side of the road is better than Wish. Let's not kid ourselves here. I can certainly see that there was a lot of creativity put into this movie, and I do mean that. There are some genuinely pretty inventive locations and magical properties that I really got into in this movie. Like this log that transmits your voice and has different effects based on how happy or angry you are, or this desert that turns into an ocean in the shade. I don't know, those are some pretty inventive ideas, and I think the movie does at least a decent job with what it's trying to do. And this should come to no surprise to anybody, the music is pretty good. I mean, once you see Alan's name on something, you just know you're in for a good time. And yeah, the songs are good, but at the same time, none of them are top tier Alan Menken, you know? They're all well written and fun in the moment, but nothing here is gonna really stick with you afterwards, I don't think. Like, there's no A Friend Like Me, or Hellfire, or I See the Light here, unfortunately. The only real standout in this movie is The Way It Was Before, and yeah, it's like a 7.5 out of 10 song, I think. I don't know how to describe how I feel about it. Like, it's almost there. Like, there's a moment near the end of the song, and it's like, okay, I'm feeling it, I'm vibing with this, but then just as it ends, I'm like, that was good, but I can't shake the feeling that it could have been better, you know? I know I'm not a music person, but that's just how I felt listening to it. Like, it was really close to being a top-tier song before losing me just as it was getting good. The other songs in this movie are fine, they do their job well, but they also just kind of fade from your head once the movie's done. I literally just saw the movie, and The Way It Was Before is the only song I really remember. I'm not saying Alan phoned it in, but he definitely didn't lock in either. To be fair though, he is working with some pretty underdeveloped themes, and that's pretty much where my main issue with the movie comes in. Everything about this movie is fine, and I mean that with my whole chest. The story is fine, the characters are fine, Elian is an okay protagonist, but that's the thing that bugs me the most, because in the last 15 minutes or so, there's this big drop that comes almost out of nowhere, and it just got me going, oh, so that's what the whole movie was about? I mean, you could have fooled me. So to talk about this part, I have to spoil the film's ending, and if you're interested in seeing it for whatever reason, this is your moment to leave the video and come back later once you've seen it. You've had your chance, and now it's gone. So in the last 15 minutes, it's revealed that the reason why the parents turned into monsters was because they were always fighting and eventually realized that they are no longer compatible with each other, and they want a divorce. And I'm just like, wait, that's the reason? They turned into monsters because they wanted a divorce? Okay. So here's my thoughts on that. On paper, I actually like that. I really do. The constant fighting between the monsters, the destruction left behind in the wake, Elian being forced to grow up on her own because she can't rely on them, is good. The problem is that there's no foreshadowing or build up to that being the reveal. I never once chalked up their behavior to, oh, they must really want that divorce. It was always, oh, they're animals and don't know any better. Nothing in the movie ever hinted at them fighting as people, and we don't see any of it until the last 15 minutes. It just makes the whole divorce angle feel rushed and out of nowhere. Like the movie just slapped it on at the last minute because they thought it would be interesting. And that's the thing, it is interesting. So make that the whole point of the story. You know what this movie really needed more than anything? It needed a villain. The trailers kept on hinting that this general lady was going to be an antagonist, and I just kept waiting for that moment where she would go, now's my chance to get rid of the king and queen so I can take over the kingdom. But it just never came. The general lady is completely on the side of good. It's just a misunderstanding. Ugh. But imagine if instead she was a villain, and she did want power. Imagine her always looking for an in, if you will, and she overhears the constant fighting and arguing that the parents always did. Eventually, the word divorce drops from one of their mouths, and there's the in. Suddenly, there's this vague threat that the king and queen have to deal with in the dark forest, and just like that, their negative emotions turn them into monsters. Her villainous plan worked. Oh, and don't think for 2 seconds she forgot about Elian. In fact, that is all part of her plan too. To manipulate this 15-year-old princess into thinking that she was responsible for their transformation and to just leave the kingdom to her. I mean, for fuck's sake, there's a song in the movie called Step by Step, and it's all about replacing the king and queen with Elian. Dude, imagine if the villain sang that song. It would have been so good. This villain could have given us Mad Frollo or Mother Gothel vibes and just how manipulative and cruel she can be. And on top of all that, the villain would bring up the divorce and Elian would know about this from the beginning. Make the divorce the focal point of the story. Now Elian isn't just trying to turn her parents back to human, she's also trying to save their marriage and thus the normalcy of her life. Don't make the divorce a sudden twist in the end. In fact, don't have any twist at all. The villain would drive the story and the main character. There would be way more tension and drama on the journey itself. The journey would reflect the message. I mean, think about that. That tunnel that uses their voices against them, the sea of sand that causes them to sink and fight more, the pieces are all there for Elian to learn that even though her parents don't love each other anymore, that doesn't mean they don't love her. It'd be just like in Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, where both the villain and the journey reflected Puss's fear of death. And even though the character death was a twist in who he was, Puss's fear of death was not. And that's what this would have been like. It would have been so interesting, so tragic, but also really inspiring and hopeful too. And that is what's so frustrating about this movie, because it had a really bold idea and yet did nothing with it in the end. I didn't even care that they still stuck with the divorce in the end because it just had such a little impact. You could have easily written it out and it wouldn't have made any difference. But with a villain exploiting that divorce and driving the whole story, that would have been an utter game changer. Oh, but I guess the creative visionary still isn't out of his twist villain / no villain phase for some reason. God, I'm hoping that villain in Moana 2 is an actual villain who drives the plot and is in it for longer than 15 minutes. Huh. I guess I had more to say about this movie than I thought. It's just always so frustrating when a movie has a really bold idea only to waste it with a really safe execution. Talk about being so close to being more than just another Disney ripoff. Right down to having Alan Menken write your songs and having a creative visionary from the company. You know, the one responsible for Cars 2? I'll never get over that. That was so stupid of them. Overall, it's a harmless movie at the end of the day, but I just can't get over how it could have been so much better. But to be fair, I didn't exactly have the highest expectations for this movie. It looked to be a very average movie, and it turned out to be a very average movie. It's neither a disappointing flop or a breathtaking surprise in my opinion. It's just a movie that exists, and I acknowledge it. I guess that makes it like a 6 out of 10 or something, so better than luck, I guess. I like that one song, and it had the occasional good joke here and there. But other than that, I am never gonna watch this movie ever again. But hey, good job, Skydance. You did an okay job. That credit goes to the team who made this movie, not the creative visionary who only produced it and nothing else. I'll be deep in the cold, cold ground before I give credit to that cretin. Meanwhile, I am actually low-key excited to watch Moana 2, because I know there will be no middle ground for that movie. It'll either be a fantastic masterpiece or an incredible failure. Either way, I'll be entertained, and have much to say, as I always do with Disney.